I think my little 8 minutes is a little bit of a very personal story rather than a kind of structural thing about co-housing. Because co-housing is about people living together, and our story is about people living together. And I think our story, actually, it fits here quite well, because our story is about being nimble, and our story was definitely about space. And Sturts Farm is a 100-acre farm. It was a very, very traditional Camphill community, because it started with just a few people deciding that they would move onto this farm with a group of people with learning disabilities and start growing healthy vegetables, biodynamic vegetables, and food, dairy produce and meat for other people. And that was its purpose. And there was nothing much more complicated than that, other than creating a lifestyle which worked for both groups. But as time went on, the support of people with a disability became much more specialist and much more regulated. And it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I sat opposite this commissioner, and I said, I knew he didn't really like us because he just imposed a 25% cut on our funding. And I think he thought that we were kind of easy picking and that we wouldn't really know what to do. So I asked him what he thought about us. I just thought I'll just listen, see what happens. And he took a deep breath, and I could see from the movement of his chest that he had a lot to say. And as he started, and I won't tell you everything he said because it was a bit overwhelming, but I started trying to defend myself from saying but, and then I thought, just give in and just listen. And he didn't like us. He didn't like what we were doing, and he didn't support us, and he said, actually, you're irrelevant. And irrelevant meant basically, I'm not going to shut you down, but I'm not going to support you carrying on, so you are going to close in a very short period of time. I'm not going to help you anymore. I don't want you here, basically. And so I had to ask him why. And he thought that that we had got really stuck in our practice, and that we were just farming. And at the time, we were living in family groups. And he felt that the people that we were supporting were not getting the choice that they should have. And that a lot of the stuff that we were doing, we'd got into a pattern, into a routine, into a habit of living in a certain way. And there wasn't any space for anybody to question it or to change it. And I sat back and I thought, you know, he could actually have a point. Because, you know, we were gardeners and farmers, so we did just live in routines. And so after a little while of battling with this and quite a few things, I got ill, and I went on the internet and I thought, I'm just going to read something that isn't going to stress me out or worry me or anything. And I came on this thing with Threshold Co-housing Community, and there was this lovely man when I lived in St Albans once told me, you know, you could be a co-housing community. And then I thought I'd better start listening. And then something remarkable happened to our community in Sturts Farm. Because you see, I think what had happened was, what the authorities were interpreting was that we were living this community lifestyle as a model of providing support. So and they were living in a world of personalization and individualization, where people with disabilities should be directing what's happening to them. And he was seeing the way we were living as a model of supplying support, whereas the initial intention had been to live on that farm and grow vegetables together. It hadn't been a way of offering support to people with a disability. It had been a way of sharing life. But the community had been seen as the model of providing the support. And that's and within family units. And this is the bit that he really didn't like. He thought that the family aspect of it was limiting choice, that the family was dominating the life of people with disabilities, and there wasn't enough choice for them to live the life they wanted. And and so, I just check where I am. So we were stuck, I think. We weren't nimble, and we needed to learn to become nimble. And then this kind of route to try and discover what co-housing was occurred. And what we did was we decided that we would that when we went to a co-housing community, it was all very familiar to us, the way people were living, apart from this thing of having your own front door and having control over your own home. So when people have been talking about developing and everything, all we did was to buy 4 eBay kitchens and to put them in some empty rooms. And we just divided up the accommodation, and then we converted one of the barns ourselves into a common house. And then we went on this legal process in order to reconstitute our community. And this was a remarkable process to go through as a charity, to say, actually, legally, our intention was to live together as equals, not for me to look after somebody else. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to live together with other people, to share life, share the ups and downs of life, and to do something together for other people. And in legally constituting the co-housing community, and for us to get right to reside alongside on an equal basis with our companions and go right through all of our routines and everything we did and decide how we were going to do it together was an incredibly empowering process, which meant that we actually had to give up. Actually, we were wielding a lot of power within the forms that we'd created, and that we hadn't given space for decision making. And we didn't give space for real diversity or for real conversation about things. We had been making up decisions, and we'd been following habits, and that we hadn't given space for this conversation about how do we want things to occur. And so now we've got to the point where we've got this legal agreement, and what it's done for us is to say, actually, all of us want to live in this legal entity which is called a co-housing community. And under that, and in that agreement, we are going to live life in this way. We're going to share meals. We are going to run things together. We are going to work freely without being paid within the co-housing context. And we are going to meet each other again as equals. And because in English law, everybody has to sign up to say where they want to live, the people we support have signed up officially and legally on a tenancy that they want to live in a co-housing community with us. And we've signed up as well. And so at that point, by separating the community off into a legal entity, they then can have a support contract to live in the way that they've chosen. So the community is no longer the way of delivering support. The community is now legally a way of living together. And it's created, so that's what pushed us to the cutting edge, in his view, that just by creating a bit of space and becoming a little bit more nimble, not just following your habits, but looking at things afresh and being prepared to change things, meant that he was really convinced that we'd gone through this kind of change process to reconnect to each other and to live, and then live in this co-housing community now as co-tenants, not as people, not as me looking after someone else or someone receiving care. And just from the last bit, just to say, from the point of view of how that's impacted on the community, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how do you develop these projects now, just that move has created a lot of interest from housing associations in the UK to carry on building and developing our community, so that we can become more diverse and have more people living with us, and that's my story.